Okay, so let's do a quick recap of yesterday's session. Then we can go ahead with today's topics. So we started looking into SQL language, right? So yesterday we talked about clauses. What are the different clauses we have in SQL? Like select clause, where, group by, having, order by. And so far we used these two, right? Select and where. So if I go down, I just shown you how where clause will be used.
Hello.
Yep, please go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you, Kumar.
No problem. Please go ahead.
I have one question regarding
Yep,
all the clauses are in the Oracle already in the table database already there, na?
right.
Okay, just you can brush up thing.
Exactly. See, basically, clauses means what? Database is used to store the data. Okay. Tables are containing those data, and tables will be used in our SQL to extract the data from database. Okay. Now, when you want to extract the data from database, you're writing an SQL using these clauses. Select, you can select the columns that you want, from which tables that you need to use, where, what criteria that you need to apply on the tables. Make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So SQL will be used to customize your requirements. Like, let's say client may ask various requirements, right? They may want to fetch certain data. They may want to exclude certain data. They want to apply some filters when you're extracting the data. That's how the SQL will be used to write and get the data accordingly. So now going ahead, so we discussed how to use where clause and why we need where clause. So whenever you're fetching the data from tables completely, where will be used to restrict or get the data as per your conditions. Now going ahead, we talked about comparison operators like equal to, not equal to, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. Okay, the examples also we have discussed here, right? So this one, since this is not right, the above the main select will not work. And here, except the start date, rest of the data should be fetching up from here. And here, for which of the employees, whoever hired before this date, this is less than symbol, right? Less than 24/10/10, those employees data will be coming up. If you put less than or equal to, okay, then on sorry on or before, okay, which means on this day or before this date, whoever hired in the system, those data will come up. Similar, if I put is equal to here, greater than or equal to, on or after this date, those employees data will be coming up. So that's how the where will be used. Okay, so next thing is logical operators. Is nothing but and, or, between, in, not in, like, and also exist, not exist. Okay, so to go through these things, is equal to is simple, sorry, and is simple. Like when you use more than one condition in your SQL, that's how and will be used as a separator. So this is one condition, and this is one condition, and this is one more condition, like that. Or is also a separator, but the functionality how it works is, when you use and in your selects, which means every condition should satisfy to fetch the data. But whereas in or, where it depends on how you use or condition. Basically, or means either one of these can satisfy, then the main query will fetch the data. Okay,
Anna,
please go ahead.
Anna, in real time also we'll use where 1 equals to 1, Anna.
I just mentioned this is our what to say.
Oh,
Yeah, okay,
the,
so
our
this is our
practice we have
requirement.
mentioned.
Yeah, our base standard practice that we follow, because yesterday I explained, right? When you
Okay,
use 1 equal to 1, easy to comment like that.
okay,
You can avoid if you don't want, I mean, it's not necessary.
okay.
But when you use more than like one condition, or when you want to comment certain, then you can easily comment those in your SQLs.
Okay.
Okay, so there is one thing. And and or that we just discussed. And means every condition is to satisfy, or means either one of them should satisfy. Now between is used to check the range, whether whatever the column that you're checking, right, whether it is between in these two things or not. If it is, then only the outer query works. Okay. So for example, I tried with number, I tried with date. Character cannot be checked here because character cannot be compared like this between, right? So next thing is sorry, next thing is date. Sorry. Next thing is date. What we are saying here, system date between certain dates we are giving. So in real time, how the requirement will be is, I would like to know who terminated between October 15th to November 15th. So in that case, what do? You have to check your termination date here instead of sys date between the date that you would like to check here. So what happens? You will get the data who terminated in that time. Similar, hire date between certain dates. Okay. So likewise, we can use the between conditions. Now, next thing is in, not in. It is straightforward. Like if you're looking for any particular number or character that you can check in the list of values that you provide within parentheses, then that information, if it is true, then the query will return the results. Otherwise, it won't. Okay. So for that, we gave some examples also here. Okay. Now, next thing is exist, not exist. It is similar to in and not in kind of, but the functionality is you are checking. Exist means the inner inline query that you use here should fetch something. I mean, like it should not fetch null. Okay. So that's how the exist will get what to say, satisfied this exist condition. And since it is and here, the above query will result provide the results. So if you can see here, sorry, in this case it won't satisfy, so you can't expect the data. But here it satisfy because exist is checking if something is coming from inline query. Since there is value, the main query works. Coming to the not exist also, it is same. So not exist means should not be coming up anything from here. So since it is true, then not exist is satisfied, then outer query, the main query works fine. Okay. In real time, there will be some sort of criteria how to use exist, not exist. We'll discuss through these things in real time with examples so that you will understand. But for now, you should know the functionality of exist and not exist. Any questions here before I move ahead with set operators?
No questions.
No.
Hello, Anna.
Yeah, network issue. Wait 2 minutes.
Okay, bye.
Lost my network. Just joined back. You guys able to hear me, right?
Yes, Anna.
Sorry for that. Let's go ahead. I was talking about set operators. Okay. So any questions before we go ahead with set operator? Okay. So there are 4 types of set operators. One is union, union all, intersect, and minus. Okay. So basically why we need to use set operators is whenever you use more than one select statement. So first of all, why do you need more than one select statement might be a question for you. Like let's say in real time, one set of query to apply with the particular conditions. Second set of query will for different things. So to differentiate easily, like let's say in our HCM, it might be holding employee related information, and also client will have their might have hide contractors also in the system. See, now you need to apply the conditions for employee. See, a set of conditions for employees different, and a set of conditions for contractors different. So that in that case, what you do is you cannot put both together here, because conditions are different for when you want to check employees data and when you want to check for contractors data. So contractors means they're not like permanent employees with that organization. Okay, so now the expectation is when he's checking for employees, he might want to apply conditions like salary might be greater than something, or high date might be something like that. When it comes to the contractors, the condition may get differ a little bit. Okay, so whenever you want to use more than one select statement, that's how you have to use set operator. Okay, how many set operators we have? Union, union all, intersect, minus. So whatever the example that I have given, just for, I mean, like generic, there will be so many examples as such like that. Okay, so we discussed about union, how union works here. Union means what? Basically, it is unique data. Union means, so when you use multiple select statements, and if the data is coming duplicate, which means whatever the data coming from here and here, some of the rows might be same. So in that case, what union does is it will fetch only the unique rows. Moving ahead with union all, it can fetch duplicates as well, which means from first query we get the data for 100 and 200 persons, and second for we get for 200 and 300. So 200 is common between these two, but what union all does is 200 it will return twice, whereas in above it will be unique, it won't be duplicate. If it will check for all the columns, if each column data should be unique for this union. So if it is unique, then it will fetch only once, it won't fetch duplicate. Whereas in union all, right, it will fetch the duplicates as well. So moving ahead with intersect. So we talked about some of yesterday. I have shown you the picture also, right? Like how does it look like? So this is easy way to understand. Like, let me open that. So these are the four set operators that we have. One is union, union all, intersect, and minus. So here it will fetch if there is any common thing, na, it will erase these things. Okay, so basically sorry, it will not erase. Query 1 may have set of data which is there in query 2. So what it does is it will fetch whatever available in query 1 and whatever available in query 2. So the duplicates it will remove. Here if it is duplicate also it will come. Intersect means whichever is common it will come up here. Minus, we talked about minus. Minus, what it does? A minus B. So always it will try to remove the, I mean, first it will fetch the data from A, and it will check any of the rows or common in this second select statement. So if there are any common select values, that value will get removed from A select statements. Okay, so here you could see 100, 200, 200, 300. 200 is common between these two. Since we are selecting the data from A select statement, 200 will get removed and only 100 will be fetching in through our scale. Okay, so that's how this works. Now what we do is today I'll give you the example with correct person numbers so that you will be able to understand what happens with union all. So let's go to day 3. So I'll say set operators example, I'll show you. So how we will see set operator examples? We will use real-time tables, means for all people if only we can use. Now I need to know some of the person numbers available in the system. So for that, what I can do, what I need to do is, without this condition, I just need to execute. So if I don't want any conditions, I just need to comment it like this. This is the way you can comment it. So if you have, in case if you have multiple conditions, right? Like let's say, and start date greater than something 2024. Now you do not want these conditions while you're running the query. What you have to do is you can do a bulk comment like this together comment. So slash star star slash. This is one way of commenting. Okay. Another way of commenting is you can comment each line whatever you don't want with hyphens. This is one way of commenting. Okay. So now what I do is I'll just, so now you understand what is the use of 1 is equal to 1 here. Where still will remain same. I'm not touching anything at where. I'm just commenting whichever the conditions I don't want. So that's why very first condition, I'll just write something like this, because this is always true. And whenever you want to comment some condition in your query, then you can easily comment them while running it. Make sense? Moving ahead, let's go to reporting page. So this is where you will execute your queries as mentioned, right? So let's go to data model and execute this query. So while running, you can select whole, but what Oracle does here is it will ignore these commented lines, which means the system understands that, okay, you're not using them while you're running your query, so that it will ignore them. It will skip those conditions while running it. Okay. So when you're running the query, two-step process it is. One is, first step is what? Your query compilation, which means whether you're writing the syntax right or not. Syntax means what? Like, let's say, as I mentioned, first select should come, following from should come, then only where should come. So instead, if you write select where from, then that is a syntax issue, right? So you should follow the syntax. So what happens here, first diagram level, when you click on OK, system will check whether the syntax is right or not, whatever you mentioned. When you click on OK, right, this is where compilation happens. So if it looks fine to that, it will compile. Next, when it goes to data, this is runtime execution, runtime. Okay. So runtime, what it does is, I'll tell you how runtime works. You see here, we got some data. So out of this, what I need is, I need some sample person numbers. Why I need sample person numbers? To show you the example how union and works, right? So like, let's say 166 is one number. Okay. So take few numbers. 183. Okay. Let's say 152 and 154. This is one set like that, I say. 140, 154. Sorry, 154 is already there, but still you can take 125 and 126. Okay, these are the two different set of employee numbers I've taken. When you want to execute set operators, very first thing, which one we have in the union. Okay. So let's take this one to the bottom. So here what I do is, first set, I'll use these numbers. So if it is varchar to how to mention them in parentheses. See, person number has some what to say, significance, like it can work even if you don't use single quotes also, for some reason that we need to check why. But I have 4 numbers here. Oh, sorry. Okay, so this one, and so total how many numbers I'm passing here? 4, right? So next what I do, union, same I'll take to the bottom. So this is the per all people if is a standard Oracle HCM table. What I'm doing here, I'm just trying to fetch the data for few employees. Similar, one more set also I'm writing. So which is common between these two selects? Which employee is common here? Can you tell me? Is there any common? I hope I'm audible, right?
No,
Do you see any common between these two? Common employee?
no.
No, there is, right? 154.
154.
Yeah, it is common. So basically the expectation from union is what? It should fetch only unique
Duplicates
rows.
removed.
Yeah, it will fetch only unique rows. Now let's see what happens. So when you're selecting now, instead of fetching everything, just put couple of columns only, so that there won't be any confusion. You can fetch as many columns that you want, but for time being, just to show you the difference easily, I'll just put only couple of columns here. Okay. So union functionality is, it will remove the duplicates. Okay. So now let's go ahead and execute this query.
2 times
One,
select is passed. 2 times select.
is it? Then
Yeah.
you will see that error here. This is compilation error. you know what happens now? Select hash 2 times. Okay. So due to that, it will throw an error. That is a compilation error. Okay. Thanks for that. So moving, click on OK. Now it'll get compiled. If your queries looks good syntax wise, it'll get compiled. Okay. Now next thing is runtime. It is okay. Runtime issues, compilation time issues. Okay. How many lines I get here? Person number 125, 26, 140, 52, 154. So how many normally we have here?
154.
So total, yeah, total only 5 I selected. That's why only. But total 8 I passed. 8 means 4 here, 4 employees here, and 4 employees here. But out of them, 1 is duplicate. The expectation is that in output, 7 rows should be coming up. How many rows coming here? 4, 5, 6, 7. Where is the 8th one? 154 is duplicate. Then it avoids that. Okay. So what I do is for this one, I'll name it as union query. Okay. Union, let's say structure, go to structure. Here also you can change the naming, but G1 is by default that system will provide, which means group 1. Okay, so next thing is what? Go to data. Union we checked. What is next in the queue? Union all. So what is the expectation from union all?
All the data.
Exactly. Even duplicate should be coming up. That's how the functionality works, right? So when you're writing query, what you have to do? You have to use union all as a separator between 2 selects. Let's go ahead and execute this one. Okay, so here what I do is I'll write one more. This is union all. I'll just show you side by side so that it'll be easy. That's why I'm creating multiple groups here. Okay, click on OK. You have an option to create multiple. So if you go to structure, select this one, go to structure. For this one, I'll name it as union all. Okay. Please do not use invalid characters. Means space I'm using, I believe. Okay. Space it may not accept, I believe. Let's say all. See now what happens. Now go to data. So we could see 2 sets of data here. First set is for union, like 125, 7 rows come. Here, how many rows here we got?
100.
8. So 154 is duplicating. You see here 154 2 times. Okay. Next is what in the queue? Intersect, right? What is the intersect means? Whichever is common, it will fetch the data. Okay. See, these things will not be using very often. Union all will be very often. Okay. Intersect and all as per requirements only we use. Intersect minus will be rare, at least as I know I've been working on, right? So, but union all will be very frequent that we use. Go to data sets, go to diagram, and click on SQL query. Here as a intersect. And data source should be HCMY because other sources will be having their module level data. Okay. It may work, but for some tables, you may face some issues. So that's why when you're writing queries, always use relevant data source. If it is for financials, you have to use financials related HCM, which means system will easily identify the tables that you're using here. Okay. Click on OK. So click on this one, go to structure. This one, you need to rename it as intersect. Okay, so expectation is that common should be coming up. Let's see what happens here. So what is common in both?
154.
154 isn't common in both. That's why only 154 is coming. Now, next, what is the next one that we have?
Minus.
Control Y. Yeah, minus, right. Control Z. Union all. Next is minus. Okay. This is the last one in the queue. Let's verify this for minus. What is the expectation from minus? Minus, you should understand well, the functionality is a bit different than others. Okay, so how does minus work? Can explain in like theoretically, so that I'll go ahead and execute and let you know. So what we discussed about minus always tries to minus the data from the first select statement, right? What it means, first select will be printing the data for 166, 183, 152 and 54 employees. Now it will try to minus the data A minus B. Okay, so B should get subtract from A. So when it will get subtract, if you see any common rows, that will get subtract. So out of 4 rows, how many are common in both, or how many are available in next select statement? Only one. So if that gets subtract, what is the output that we can expect? This 3 employee related. Okay, so please stop me wherever you see any challenges while understanding, so that I'll repeat on that. Okay, minus, let's go to HCM, put it here. This is for minus. So to understanding purpose, I'm changing the structure name also. Normally we don't do this, but you have an option to change that also. Okay, click on save, go to data. Okay, so click on data and now execute. So focus on the minus, which means the last one. How many rows we got out of 4? We have 4 here. One should be removing 152, 183, 166, 152, 166, 183. Okay, so that's how this will be used in real time, the set operators. Any questions, team, before we move on with?
No.
Okay, others?
No.
Okay, cool. So let's go to the other topics. That's on the operator side. So these things you should practice well. See, what happens is the topics will remain same forever, right? Only the thing is you should know when to use. When the requirement comes, immediately you should get an idea like how this can be done. So that's how these things will be used, either operators, functions, whatever we have in the system. You should remember all these things, like how to apply in real time. Okay, let's go to the other topics. Now we are done with set operators. What is next? We have, that is function. Let's go to functions. Okay, if you see functions, basically why do you use function in general? I mean, to talk about functions, right? Function has ability to convert the data into required format, or to apply some sort of formula. Okay, so I'll show you some examples before I get into anything. Like, let's say here you could see some examples here. Okay, I'll tell you. So whenever I'm fetching some values from the system, I want to show them in lower format always. Like, let's say employee name, employee job, employee company, business unit, everything will be there in the system. But while extracting the data, I want to show them in lower case. I want to show them in uppercase. I want to show them in initial letter capital. So to do these things, we have standard functions available in Oracle SQL. Using those functions, our job will be easy to convert the data that the way we want. Okay, and if you go up, you also have an option to seal floor and all. What does it mean is, it will convert the data that you want. Like, let's say you might be getting decimals in your salary, or decimals in your some calculation, especially salary numbers only, right? You do not want to see the decimals. Either it has to round it off to the prior value, or round it off to the next value. Like, let's say 100.345. I don't want to see that 345. I want to see it as only 100 or 101. So to do all these things, we have functions available. Okay, so functions are two types. One is single row functions, another is group functions. Okay, so what is the difference that will run through? I mean, we'll go through the while we discuss on these things. Okay, just a heads up, like I'll be ending up this session by 11:15. Okay. So meanwhile, how much ever we cover, we can discuss through them. Okay. So single row function starts with single row functions. What does it mean is this will return a value for every row that is processed in a query. Okay. So how it works is, let's go to Notepad. We're talking about functions. And out of that, we are talking about single row functions. Okay. Single row functions, what happens is, if you apply the function of your column, then that column will show the value according to the as per your function functionality. Okay. So if you go to the single row one, we have how many types of functions here? Like operators, we have 4 types of functions here. Okay. So operators we have, right? Arithmetic, logical, comparison, and set operators. Similar row functions also, I mean single row functions also, different types we have. One is numeric functions, which means these functions can be applied on numbers. Okay. Next, character or text functions. This can be applied on string values. Next is date functions. This can be applied on date. So what does it mean, date? Whenever you're printing the data, the standard format from Oracle is year, month, day. Now later you may want to convert it as like different, like let's say month, day, year. So that time this date functions will be used. Okay, sometimes you want to show only year, sometimes you want to show year and month. It depends on the requirements that you will be converting your data. The last one is conversion functions. Okay. We'll discuss through them as we go through the remaining topics. Starts with numeric function. We could see some of numeric functions available here. ABS, which means absolute value of the number. Seal. Okay. So this function this will round up the value. Okay. Floor is also same. These two are same, but when I say same, it works differently, but the functionality is almost similar. Okay. Next is trunk and round we have. Let's start with ABS. What ABS does is, ABS means absolute basically. So whenever you use function, the number of arguments is very, very important. What does it mean by number of argument? Each function will have set of arguments to be passed. So if you see here, when you're using ABS function, the maximum argument that you can pass is 1. When you use seal function, the maximum argument that you can pass is 1. Floor is also same. When it comes to trunk, maximum arguments that you can pass is 2. Same with round. So arguments is very, very important for function. Okay. Now when I want to use ABS, what I do is I'll just simply use dual table to show you some examples. So what ABS does is, it will convert the negative values to positive. Like let's say something, my value, I'm getting value something like this from the database. Okay. So since I have done some work here, what I do is I will save this work into this instance. Now how to save that work, you see here. Okay. You have an option to save here and save as. Okay. Like you might be seeing in your computers, right? Local computers, you get 2 options. One is save, another one is save as. So I just clicked on save, and under my folders set, I'm just saving it, this one, set operators examples. Okay. When I click on OK, this query will get saved into my local machine, which means I no need to write everything again and again. Okay. Now how to verify these things, whether it is saved or not in the system? Click on catalog. You can leave this page because the information is already saved. Now let's go back to the system and see how the things are saved here. You see here, this is the one I just saved now. 11/28/2024 5:36:41, which is Greenwich Mean Time. Okay. So now, and one more thing that you need to observe here is, when you click on save, it will ask you to where to save. You have to select the folders and you can save it accordingly. Now, if you look at the symbol, this icon, you can easily see whether it is data model, report and all. Okay. If I go here, when you select data model, what is the symbol that you see? Same, that will be visible here, which means you have written a query and you saved it in a particular folder. So by looking at this, you can easily say it is a data model query which contains SQL. Okay. So this is one thing. Now, if I want to make some changes or want to see what has written within that, I just click on edit. Okay. Now we have an option more, like let's say you can rename of this data model, you can archive properties, permissions. So there are a few more options that we can discuss through later. Now I want to see the edit. If I click on edit, it will take you back to the edit page where you have written all your queries. Okay. Hope you're following up, right? Click on catalog. Now what I do is I want to write something for functions. Okay. Now next what I do is I'll just go to create again. Create data model. So how to use functions? Let's come back here. I'm talking about absolute. So here what I do is select this one. Say numeric functions. Okay, so source is important. See, when you're working on while you are doing assignments, try some different ways also. So I mean, what I mean to say is you can execute what we have discussed here. Along with that, try to explore some other options also. I mean, like, what if I do differently? So you have to try with some different options when you're working on. Okay. So what is the value that I passed to absolute? Negative 198.234. In output, what is the value that you see? It converted as a positive. So it might be simple, but at times it is useful. Like let's say all negative values you want to show up as a positive. Then ABS will be used. Next is what? Seal. Okay. So use seal. What I do is I'll just write seal here only. So when I'm writing queries now, all functions I'll write it in one SQL. Okay. What it means is, sorry. So first column is I applied ABS and I will give the alias name as absolute. Alias name is what? It will show you the column name as your alias name. Okay. Next, what I want to use seal of some number. I will use same number or different, like let's say 245.678. Okay. This one I'll say I'll give alias name. Okay. Next is floor. So let's discuss seal and floor, then we can go ahead with other things. So what it does, you just see, and you'll understand why this will be useful in real time. Okay, how it will be useful. I mean, okay, so let's go back to the diagram. So I'm trying to put all the functions at one SQL only as a different columns. Okay, click on data. So you will get familiar with these things. No need to worry like where I'm going, how to navigate. So it may take 1 or 2 days, but you'll get familiar with that easily. First thing is what? Absolute value. It converted the value from negative to positive. Next is what? 245.678. I applied seal function for this. So seal, what it does? It made the value that I've given as a to the next highest value. It rounded off to the next highest. Because after 245, it finds some decimals. So whenever there are decimals and if you use seal, it will round up to the next highest value. So after 245, what is the next value that comes in the sequence? 46. Next, floor. So whenever it finds decimals, what it does is it will round off the next to lowest value. Okay. So next to lowest value means here you need to understand 245.678 is more than 245, right? So lower than that means it will round off to the actual value. Instead of decimals, it will remove decimals and it will round it off to that particular value only. But whereas in seal, it will take you to the next highest. That's how seal, floor, ABS works. Any question here before we move on with the trunk?
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Actually, these are single row functions, ABS
Correct.
plus seal and floor.
Correct.
Have never heard of it before. So, like, these are used always in Fusion in our
Yeah, in requirements, like let's say you might be extracting the data of person and salary.
Okay.
Okay. From some calculation of bonus, like let's say there might be some bonus column. Okay.
Okay.
So what
And
happens
then
is with that bonus column, it might be fetching some decimals.
oh,
Since it is decimal, what your employer wants to do is they want to round it off to the next highest value, which means instead of cents, they want to show it as next highest value. So that
but that,
they, yeah,
yeah. So can you see in SIL you have mentioned that 245.678. So this is 0.678 more than 500. So this will automatically fetch the next value as 246, right? It's more
it
than.
is not. It is not like 0.5. It is not like more than 0.5. Even uh, like let's say I will give you one more value as side by example. Like let's say I'll say 1, 2, 3 or
Yeah,
0,
less
2,
than
3.
500.
Okay, less than 500 only. I'll put 0.5.
Okay.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
so here also I'll say sorry. This one let it be. I'll write one more. So instead of 6, 7, 8, I'll say some 2, 3, 4. Okay, this is also less than 0.5. Okay,
Yeah.
so one thing is when you're writing alias names for any columns now, make sure it will be unique. So I'll show you some examples since we are discussing about what it says is when you use column name as same, following columns are duplicated. Seal value is duplicate, floor value is duplicate, which means the alias name that you are using, it is duplicate. You are using same alias name for more than one column. So what I do is I'll put one here. For this also I'll put one. Okay. So now column names are different. Now to talk about your uh, query, right? Let's execute this query and see. So seal value is the one we tested. Seal value 1 is now we are testing for new case, like that is less than 0.5. Click on view. Let's see what happened. Seal value, you see 246. Seal value 1, you see 246. It doesn't matter. After decimal, even if it find 00001 also, it will round it off to the
It
next
will,
one.
for seal, it will always take the next value if there is any
Next
decimal.
value.
Yeah. For seal.
Right. For floor, yeah, it will round it off to the same one for floor.
Means 245 only.
245 only. Whether it is more than 0.5, more than 0.9999, whatever the case it is, it will round it up to that particular only.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so that is one thing. Okay, so next, what do we have in the queue is, I just talk about these two functions and we can end up this one. Okay, next is trunk and round. Maybe we can cover trunk. So tomorrow we'll talk about round. Okay, so trunk, how many arguments we have? 2 arguments. Function will always comes up with arguments. Okay, that you have to remember. And how many arguments also you need to remember. Okay, so let's see what trunk does. Say trunk of 5 6 4 5 4 5. I'll say 6 7 8 9, comma, how many arguments it has? Sorry, 4.5 dot. Okay, this is one argument. Another argument I'm passing it as 3. Okay,
So
hello. Yeah, trunk value it is. I just given alias name as to identify easily which value. So I have given trunk val, which means whatever coming through the trunk function, you can see that value here. Okay. What happened to trunk here? 454.677 it has given. Okay. So basically, if you understand what is happening with trunk is, we have given one value with decimals and you are giving second argument with some number. What is this number? This number will restrict the decimal places maximum to 3. So you see that it is coming as 3. Okay, if you give 2, if you can give 4, 5, whatever the time. So it will restrict. If you give 2, it will restrict to up to only 6, 7. Instead of showing like lot many decimals in the output values, there is an option to restrict them with a certain number only. Okay. Okay, that's the thing for today. I see we are already on top of our time. Do you have any questions on these functions?
No,
Mm.
no.
Not on my side.
Great. Okay. So operators also, I made you clear, like with real time, like employee data only, right? So this should be clear as well. And functions, we started with numeric functions. After that, we have other functions also in place. Okay. If that's all for today, would like to end it up here. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, we can drop for today. We can end up for today.
Okay.
Okay. Anna.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's
Anna.
connect again then.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.